Hello and welcome to another video on DesignScript. In this video I'm going to be covering intersection and trim operations. So I'm going to begin by importing the standard library, geometry library. So I'll begin by making a series of points using range expression and replication guides. If you don't know what those are, I encourage you to watch that video. Alright. So I'm going to deform some of these points as you've seen previously. Let's say form 1, 1, let's go to 1, 1. Kind of copy and paste this a bit. I'm mainly just deforming these points to make it a much more interesting space and allow us a shape that'll actually allow us to do interesting trim operations on this. Alright, so I'm going to make a surface from this. Oop. Alright, let's take a look at it. Alright, so does it make sense? And there we are. Here's our kind of B-spline surface with kind of a series of bumps that I've created. So now I'm going to create a plane and intersect it with this object. So intersection essentially means of taking one piece of geometry and another piece of geometry, intersecting the two together in a space, and then finding the kind of overlapping result. So I'll begin by creating a plane by origin normal. Well, so here I've created a plane. It might be kind of hard to see, but I'll rotate into a side view. So we can see that this plane is intersecting, which doesn't have a kind of physical view, but it's intersecting kind of in the midpoint of these hills. So we do a simple intersection with these between the plane and the surface. We'll end up with a series of curves, which you can sort of see outlined here. It might be easier if I kind of translate them up. So these are the curves that we initially made, and I've just translated them. So you can see that they're basically three circles, as you'd expect when you intersect a plane with these kind of domes. Similarly, we can actually trim this surface using the same kind of idea of a base surface or base geometry and then a tool geometry. We can actually trim the surface, but of course that requires something called a pick point, because normally in CAD applications, when you actually select a piece of geometry as a tool, and you say select an object to trim, you kind of click on that object, either on one side or another, and that click point actually determines what side to keep and what side to delete. Well, because there's no clicking involved with DesignScript, you have to specify that trim operation with the pick point. So I'll show you that right now. So we'll trim this object here, and then I'll specify a pick point as point by coordinates 0, 0, maybe -5. Oh, and then we have to decide whether or not we want to auto extend or not, which in other words means if this plane is sort of, the planes extend infinitely in all directions, but if this is a smaller surface or a line, we would want to determine or specify whether or not DesignScript should sort of interpolate outwards to do a trim operation, but we don't really need that. So I'll run this here again. I need to actually hide the underlying surface. and I'll also hide the plane. In other words, the trim operation did work. It's just kind of hidden. I should just kind of preview what's going to happen. So when I rerun this and hide it, now it actually produces the correct result. Well, yeah, the correct visual result. So here we can see what's kind of happened. We've taken a plane, which kind of was at the mid-height of these kind of cones, and we said trim it by kind of intersecting and then removing the objects on the opposite side. Similarly, if we actually were to change the pick point to +5, so in other words, the pick point is specifying what side to keep. So right now, it has a very low z direction. So in other words, the point is somewhere really below this object. But if we were to move it up, then it would be above the object and closer to the sort of tops of these mountain peaks. And when we do that, then now it's actually specifying a particular peak to keep. So this one right here. And by moving that around, you can determine which particular object you actually want to use still. That is going to be all for trim and intersection. Thank you for watching.